Kia has added a new entry model to its Australian lineup. Behind me is the Picanto, a 5-door, 4-cylinder hatchback featuring one of the lowest new car prices in the country. The question is, can cheap be cheerful as well? The standout feature with the Picanto is its price. Set at $14,990 drive away, it sits with the Holden Spark, Mitsubishi Mirage and Suzuki Alto as one of the cheapest new cars on sale in the country. For that, you get Kia's benchmark 7-year warranty, along with 5-star safety, air conditioning, power windows, Bluetooth phone and audio streaming, rear parking sensors and a multi-function trip computer. Now when you consider all those features, the Picanto is surprisingly affordable, but in the skin there are a few obvious concessions as soon as you step foot into the car. For one, it just doesn't have the same noise and vibration levels as many other modern cars. You feel vibration through the seat, the car's actually quite noisy on the road, and you can constantly feel that little 4-cylinder engine straining, especially once you get up towards the upper end of the dial. The other thing is it's screaming out for a couple of little touches. There's hard plastics everywhere, there's no reach adjustment on the steering wheel, and the driver position is a little bit out of whack. You know what, they're fairly small concessions, especially when you consider what you're getting on paper. The Picanto makes up points with split folding rear seats and one of the smallest turning circles in the business at just 9.8 metres, but it loses out with a dated dashboard display that pales against new competitors. With 5 doors and a 200-litre boot, the Picanto houses enough space for 4 adults, but only on short hops, which is more or less in line with its engine and dynamics. Now for a city car, the Picanto is actually surprisingly mature out on the road. The steering, while it doesn't set any new benchmarks, is faithful and communicative right around the tiller. Similarly, the body control is fairly mature as well. The car feels safe and planted through corners. The suspension is really good. It reflects bumps in the road without ever being crashy or jittery. But the car, you sort of get to a point, and that's where it sort of gives up. The Kumo tyres aren't all that great for faster corners. You know, there's a lot of excessive body roll when you really choose to push things. But you know what? In a city scenario, the Picanto stacks up quite well. The engine similarly does a really good job without excelling in any one way. It's only got 4 cogs on offer, so you're a little bit limited, you know, in highway applications, for instance, you're sitting at 3,000 RPM. It does mean the engine does tend to strain a bit, you know, when you push things. Similarly, the engine and drivetrain are quite civilised as well, to a point. I found today that during overtaking manoeuvres and up to highway speeds, the engine lacks the same sort of torque as larger capacity units. It doesn't reach peak power until 6,000 RPM or peak torque until 4,000 RPM. So naturally, you really have to get it revving for it to reach its straps. Once you are up at that point, the other thing to consider is that it's actually quite noisy inside the cabin. You can feel the engine straining and it's really quite audible from the driver's seat. In saying that though, the little petrol unit is quite efficient. We've managed around 7 litres per 100 k's during today's loop, and that's been with a mix of conditions. All in all, the Picanto injects more choice into the microcar segment, offering equipment and safety which belies its cheap price tag. Now while it sets no new driving benchmarks for the segment, the Picanto manages to be surprisingly cheap and cheerful. And you know what? Backed by a 7-year warranty, it's actually quite sensible as well.